Dating poor men brings bad luck. Women should date powerful men. If you are a very exceptional woman, remember this. You must date outstanding men. We should not get involved with those who are not. By dating high-class men, you will benefit. Now, if you date people from lower classes, you will definitely have bad luck. Don't believe it? Then try it. Remember this. For those who are beautiful and come from good families, it is a huge loss to date lower-class people. Never get involved with the wrong person on an intimate level. This can bring you many problems and dangers. Because, once you have that deep bond with that man, having an intimate relationship, he will have a great impact on your mind and spirit, which will change your psychological and spiritual world. If that man is weak, your energy will be quickly absorbed by him. Your destiny, your spirit will be polluted by him, and you will feel your luck rapidly decline. The losses are not just material, but also spiritual, including your efforts. You know? Those who have learned in our community know. Do not easily engage with others on an intimate level. Do not deeply connect with people. Someone on the internet said something like, don't underestimate young poor people. Basically, you really shouldn't date or marry poor boys. Last year, a boy was pursuing me. We met through work, and he spent thousands of yuan a month. He was very handsome and a great employee, and he really won my heart. On our first proper date, I wore a dress and took out a pair of high heels I hadn't worn in a long time. While he was choosing the restaurant, I picked a hot pot place. It was Saturday, and we stood in line for 2 hours, eating hot pot from start to finish. He earned only a few thousand yuan a month. Living in Shanghai is really tough. If I chose a more expensive restaurant, I was afraid it would be a psychological burden for him. I could pay the bill, but since it was our first date, if I paid, it would seem like I wasn't giving him respect. I really like luxury goods, but I usually don't talk about that. On our second date, he said he would get off work around 6 p.m. He ran to 3 stores to buy me a Dior bag. At 8:30 p.m., he sent me a message asking me to come downstairs. I was editing a video that day and was so dizzy I could barely see. I told him not to bother me, and he said it would only take 2 minutes. I went downstairs angrily and saw him in the rain holding that Dior bag. Oh, at that moment, I really felt a wave of guilt, you know? I couldn't move at all. I told him to take that thing back. I said girls are especially happy to receive gifts, right? You receive a gift, oh, thank you, thank you. I didn't feel any happiness at that moment. All I could think about was that the bag cost 30,000 yuan and how long he would have to save his few thousand yuan salary during the time we were getting to know each other. I was going to dinner with him, receiving his gifts, and it became a psychological burden for me. It was impossible to continue, really impossible. How can you date like this? A girl looking for love like me, what nonsense. I work hard, isn't it to make money? Right, when it comes to dating, you really shouldn't look for those poor boys, thinking that they are young, handsome, and will improve in the future. Really, don't do that. If you don't give gifts, you feel uncomfortable, but he is saving money and then gives you expensive things, which ends up creating a new burden for you. After a while, core contradictions arise. If you don't feel good, he won't feel good either, so why bother? Right? Smart women should seek rich men. Never marry a poor man. Why? Because he is poor. And that means he has problems. And, moreover, he has problems in many areas. From being lazy, to issues with memory and intelligence. As the ancients said, poverty breeds cunning. Wealth cultivates conscience. The difference between a poor man and a rich man is that, even if you divorce him, a rich man won't just ignore his wife and children. He will fulfill his obligations. And what needs to be given, he will give. In other words, even if he cheats, he will still compensate the wife with a sum of money. He will make an effort to take good care of his own children. At least, he won't let you end up on the street. He won't allow that to happen. After all, you were a couple. A rich man values appearance, but a man without money is different. If he can't live with this woman, he will ignore even the children they had together. And I tell you, a poor man doesn't have paternal love, doesn't have gratitude. He will turn against you and your whole family. And suddenly, it's always a life or death situation, with constant fighting. This is what Guanzi said about the rules of etiquette. Food and clothing are tied to honor and shame. Speaking of this, I'll tell you a real story, which is about my ex-husband. I've been divorced from him for over 4 years now. We have one child. And to this day, he hasn't given me a penny in child support. Before the divorce, he even borrowed money from me, along with himself. Since the divorce, he has disappeared. I can say that the best decision I made was to divorce, to completely cut ties with that man. If I had continued with a man like that, it would have been a true hell. In this man's eyes, he only sees himself. He doesn't care about anyone else's life. Why? Because his family upbringing went wrong. His family is poor. His parents are very poor. They are the type who like to save on small things. Selfish. When I was young, honestly, I didn't understand any of this. I only thought about the man's talk and his anatomy, and ended up ruining my entire life. Today, everything I have is a result of my ignorance, my foolishness, and my naivety. That's why I tell everyone that, while they are young, they should join us to learn, so that you can avoid pitfalls and not take difficult paths. Many weak women who go through this ordeal may never recover in their lives. But strong women turn these pains into ashes to achieve themselves. But regardless of whether they are strong women or weak women, all of this is your own misfortune. If you have daughters, make sure to guide them, when they are young, about the right things. Guiding them in their relationships. They can't just rely on men's sweet words. I've repeated this many times. Find a rich man to marry. Otherwise, it's waiting for death. I don't want your daughters to make such decisions when they are young, and pay for their own stupidity. That's why so many people want to learn from my brother, the Wolf of War. Understood? If you want to learn more, follow me. Follow my brother, the Wolf of War. And teach yourself to be a powerful and enlightened queen. Never choose a poor man as your marriage partner. And even less choose a poor man to be the father of your children. Sisters, I've said this many times. First, let me clarify, I don't look down on poor people. And I myself am not a wealthy person. I come from an ordinary rural family. And when I talk about poor men, I'm referring to those who are already very poor and still want someone to support them. This kind of person definitely has a problematic worldview, because they are already struggling financially, with issues even just to eat and drink, and still want to find a wife and have children, even dreaming of having a son. Sisters, as women, we must choose wisely, because marriage involves daily necessities, like food and daily expenses. Everything costs money. We can live on less. We can eat simply. But our children can't go through that. After marrying a poor man, in the beginning, you might think it's no big deal. But once you get pregnant, all sorts of problems will come flooding in. With a husband who doesn't know how to earn money, without support and with critical in-laws, having to handle all the household chores alone. When you have your child, you'll take a look at your bank account and see that the balance is almost zero. Having to search for discounted milk powder, looking for second-hand baby products. You can't even afford to spend a penny, because every piece of clothing you don't buy could be used to buy some diapers for your child. If you buy diapers, your mother-in-law will still say you're wasting money, that you don't know how to manage finances. Can't old clothes be ripped up to be used for the children? And the painful part is, this is just the beginning. If you want a divorce, he will say you're materialistic and disdainful, that you're getting involved with rich men, that you're a practical woman. But if you really are like that, how could you have chosen to marry him in the first place? So, being poor and having a poor mindset are not the same thing. Being poor is temporary, but having a poor mindset is forever. Secondly, many people who are poor have other more evident flaws. They don't just have poverty as their only problem. Besides being poor, they hardly have any other qualities. In other words, the habits of thinking and behavior that arise from poverty, even consumption habits, can ruin your life and bring a lot of suffering, also causing your children to suffer greatly. And you should think about why he is poor. In today's society, with so many resources available for men, why can't he make money? Sisters, it's hard to earn money. But for a man, as long as he wants to make money, it's not that difficult. If he puts in a little effort, is a little more ambitious, works hard and enjoys learning, he wouldn't be struggling to make ends meet. There are even people who, due to their appearance, look for wives. But I just can't understand that. And I tell everyone, do you think he just doesn't have money? That's not it. He has character issues. In fact, being poor is just a surface issue. He hides many deeper problems. We women, when we get married, are not just choosing a husband. We are choosing a good father for our children. Poor families usually live in poverty, facing survival pressure and various difficulties. Living for a long time in this state of poverty can lead them to be filled with anxiety about life and insecurity. So if a girl marries into a poor family, even if you can help support the family, they won't be grateful. They'll even criticize you and might think, wow, you're really cheap. If we had real abilities, we might even tell relatives and friends that you're someone who sacrifices, who just wants to be with their son, making you feel worthless. If you were with someone who has better economic conditions, the things you enjoy or experience are different. There is an essential difference. So if you have to choose between two, always choose someone with slightly better financial conditions. You know why? Even if that money might not be spent on you, it could be invested in your children. At the very least, your child won't suffer or be poor, right? They won't endure hardship while being with you, right? I'll give you all one more chance to choose a partner. You still won't choose a partner based on your previous criteria. Will you choose a rich man or a poor man? I'm telling you, you definitely need to choose the rich ones. Now, when I say this, you might think I'm very materialistic, but I say that women like rich men just as men like young women. There's no conflict in that. Understand? When we choose a rich man, he spends a lot of money on you, which is just his pocket money. If in the end, you two don't end up together, this man will absolutely not come back to you for reimbursement. Why? Because he's spending pocket money. Moreover, rich men have a giving mentality. They want face. They feel that if a woman is with them, she should give something back. And they fear that this woman might be with them for the wrong reasons. But some poor men will say, I've given you everything. Why don't you appreciate it? Right? Sisters, this is why when we choose a partner, we must definitely choose the rich ones, those with better financial conditions. And when you choose a rich man, you should know that this proves his perception is extremely high. And also, the quality of a rich man is certainly not going to be bad. I advise all men, if you don't earn much, and your financial conditions aren't good, don't think about marrying an extremely beautiful woman, a top beauty. If you don't have what it takes, don't try to take on something you can't sustain. Because that kind of woman, the exceptional beauty, a regular man really can't handle. You can see the signs of money everywhere. If you don't have a solid financial base, you might end up bankrupt very quickly. It's not wrong for a woman to get herself ready and look beautiful. It's her pursuit. She has the right to seek the good, and we have no right to interfere. That said, considering our own situation, we really can't afford them. For example, a designer handbag costs tens of thousands. A visit to a beauty salon for skincare can cost thousands. A lipstick costs hundreds. And skincare products, those bottles, and cosmetics. Sometimes a full set can cost several thousands. Do you think an ordinary worker can handle these kinds of expenses? If you earn 2,000 to 3,000 a month, you probably can't even cover that. Beautiful women are maintained with money. The cost of beauty is high. For example, people like me, ordinary women, I really can't afford to spend 1,000 or 2,000 on a bag at once. On one hand, I really don't have the money. And on the other, I have no concept of brands. I'm just an ordinary woman. Even spending more than 1,000 on something, I have to think for a long time. So when someone goes to a beauty salon and gets a card that costs tens of thousands, I really wouldn't do that. Because, honestly, I can't. This might be due to my lack of exposure, being a bit ignorant. But in real life, how many men can earn that much in a month? Can they withstand this kind of spending? Even if you do end up marrying an extremely beautiful woman, after the marriage, if you don't have external help and need to pay the mortgage and car loan, earning 2,000 to 3,000 a month is simply not enough to live extravagantly. If, by marrying you, she has to lower her living standards, she will definitely have grievances. Because the gap between life before and after marriage is too great, and it will affect your relationship, leading to a series of problems. So, ordinary men really need to think carefully when marrying exceptional women. weigh their own abilities, and always try to find an ordinary woman who looks pleasant and attractive. What do you think?
There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't have enough strength, you shouldn't risk pursuing the so-called beauties, as they may be beyond your reach. Similarly, if a woman isn't qualified enough, she shouldn't spend her days dreaming about something she can't attain. It's essential to act according to your abilities and live within your means. Otherwise, it will be like trying to carry water in a bamboo basket. If you are a qualified man with money, good looks, and high social status, essentially being part of the 1% of men, who would you prefer to be with? A young and beautiful woman who makes it clear she's with you only for your money and status, or a woman who, despite being considered leftover, has more realistic expectations and is with you for reasons beyond your wealth? If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.